kind of starting point. But then already in quite soon after our actual project funding started, we started to realize more and more that it's really difficult to have any kind of understanding where we are heading to. So, and also it was very difficult to make any kind of information or publicity work based on the projects which were supported, because they were here and there, and the thematic was whatever possible. So soon there was a need to have a bit more focused approach, and then we started the first cooperation programs around 2005-2006. And then since that time there has been some development also towards the direction which Thomas Wallgren was mentioning on Monday, that even though quite many people still consider Siemenpuu Foundation as an environmental organization, but it could be also considered that it's dealing with democracy issues. And I think it has been quite much in the heart of Siemenpuu work, at least in the most recent years. And maybe also SADEC input has been in that sense important in the development of Siemenpuu Foundation, that this ecological democracy has had quite a central role in the thinking and in the development of Siemenpuu Foundation. If we go very briefly that what are the programs we are presently involved with, they are listed in here. We could give each one who is dealing with some programs, let them tell very briefly what the programs are all about. And these are the themes dealt with under its various programs. The emphasis are a bit different. So, for example, National Adivasi Alliance program is dealing with forest issues, local communities, definitely displacement issues, strongly yes, mining issues, quite strongly, water issues to some extent, and Vuenvivir not as much as a concept. But okay, most of these themes are dealt with by the programs in various degrees. So, but generally these are that kind of emphasis areas which our programs have.
And which are dealt also or raised up in these publications that we've been publishing and dealt in the information work.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know, could we possibly start from that each one of you tell very briefly what your program is dealing with?
From information unit or from where I was studying?
Just a brief introduction to these various programs we do have. Okay, maybe if you start.
Okay, let's start from the most complicated one. The one that involves the three of us. It's called Global Dialogue. It's the newest program of Siemenpuu. And the idea, because along the history of Siemenpuu, the idea has been to promote South-South collaboration, but it hasn't seemed to pick up all the time. So I suppose this program is an attempt to increase the South-South cooperation and maybe involve the other programs that Siemenpuu has also within the cooperation. And it's not so far not thematically as defined maybe as the other programs. There are like maybe 2 different level partners or organizations that have been supported. It started in 2012. Funding.
Yeah, the funding.
Yeah.
I think it was 2011 when we started to discuss about this.
So there are these more kind of global level actors in certain themes like maybe forest rights and there's this idea of when we reach life and then there's maybe like food sovereignty and more like economic issues, perhaps also mining and energy issues. And then there are these more local level partners we support, and the idea is also to increase the dialogue between the local level and the more global level. I don't know if Pia or Toni have something to complement.
Yeah. And there was also this longer name, if you put Toni this the starting page of these programs to go up there, so to show what we do.
Project oikealla se ensin, tässä ylimmäisessä.
Yeah, good. Then you scroll down a bit. There is this democratic dialogues and action for when we live and sustainability, meaning of just life without overconsumption. So that's the whole title of the program, and that's why we call it Global Dialogue, to make it easier. But that also gives a kind of description in the title, that what are the questions dealt under this program. And we are still developing it and trying to find out that how it would work, how we could increase the South-South cooperation between our partners, and what would Siemenpuu's role be in that work as well. So that's the discussion that we are having with our partners and also in our working group.
And maybe the other programs of Siemenpuu are geographically somehow defined, but this program is, we are supporting organizations in Latin America, Africa and Asia, so it's not geographically defined like the others. Do I move on to Latin America?
Tony can add to this.
Just that we support and cooperate with large networks like Focus on the Global South, I think you know, Via Campesina, Global Forest Coalition, but also small grassroots level projects or initiatives are involved in the program. So we are trying to find some ways how these kind of local and global and regional actors could speak to each other and understand better what is happening on different levels. And I think SADC could also, as a inherently dialogue-based group, to contribute also to this global dialogue program in the future. How that would be possible that we can discuss there.
Who are the main global? Shall we come ask our questions after all the programs have been stated?
I mean, if you have a program-specific question, you can ask now as well.
Who are the main global actors? You mentioned Focus on Global South, we are Campesina and
Global.
Forest Coalition.
eh?
Global Forest Coalition.
Global Forest. That's all. Only these three.
and the Convention of Biological Diversity
CPD Alliance. It's called.
CBD Alliance.
Yeah.
And then also now there's that grain that is
Yeah.
being thought of.
Discussed about, yeah.
When we talk of the global dialogue, North-North dialogue is tremendously important. North must understand why it has failed to do anything on climate. North must understand why it has been on the verge of a biological diversity collapse. So while you are putting a lot of stress on South-South, the North-North is extremely important and should not be neglected.
I suppose the nature of Siemenpuu is that because we support actors in the global south, we can't support organizations in Europe or North America. So it comes
The
from-
ratio of support comes after your intent. A North-North dialogue may not need a lot of support, but it needs an intent.
Yeah, an initiative.
And if you do a good North-North dialogue, it will immensely help South-South dialogue. Because North-North is the whole world is showing North is the success, our whole South has to go that way. So North has to reinvent itself about its inabilities, about its weaknesses, about the lack of freedom in the North. The free society has very little freedom. So I think it is important for, then we can probably in the South start to fund North-North dialogue. If you are unable to do it.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Yeah. And we are trying to involve our northern actors also in this south dialogue, to have it kind of south-north, south-north, whatever we call it. But let's see, we are kind of finding out that what kind of structures there could be, and how we would develop this dialogue between all the actors. But this north-north is, yeah, surely very, very important issue. And somehow,
I suppose inbuilt also in Siemenpuu is the fact that Siemenpuu was founded by 15 Finnish NGOs, so and they have their own networks globally as well. So how to involve our founding organizations and their networks.
Yeah, in such a case that the global dialogue becomes a confusing name.
yeah.
But maybe it can be emphasized that Siemenpuu Foundation has taken more political role than it used to have in the beginning. It used to be only a kind of funding organization, but now it's also trying to be an advocacy organization and trying to activate groups also in Finland to raise up issues related to North-North relationships as well.
And there was a strong ideological drive in that time that we had the problem here in Finland that when in Finland it was funded Finnish organizations working with some groups in South, that so much money stayed in Finland because here whatever we do in Finland is very costly. Then there was a big ideological drive that the funding must go, all the funding must go to the South, so that they will not stay here. Because here office and some permanent workers, it will cost a lot of money. And, it was a big problem that with many of these NGOs working in here that they have a cooperation with somebody in the South. But so much money stayed actually in Finland because this Finnish organization spent so much money. And there was a big ideological drive to get all the money going to the South and not stay here. And it influenced this starting point of Siemenpuu for example, substrate that there were very influential people who had the opinion that there should be only one permanent worker in Siemenpuu. And that was actually Kari. So this always was designed to keep very, very small, but it was impossible to keep it very small.
Latin American program.
The Latin American program was started in 2009, and it's kind of to some degree different groups within the program. But the idea of the program is to support alternatives to monoculture plantations and discussion on the plantations themselves and kind of the plantation trend itself. And one part of the group, the program, consists of these three partners working on, one is Acción por la Biodiversidad, I guess Action for Biodiversity, which is more agriculture related organization that has links to Via Campesina as well. And then there's the local Uruguayan group of World Rainforest Movement, Cayupira, who work against especially the eucalyptus plantations in Uruguay, and a Latin American network against tree monocultures called RECOMA. And then there's the Friends of the Earth in Latin America. What we have been supporting with the Friends of the Earth is that they approximately 7 different groups of Friends of the Earth in Latin America with a joint proposal, and then each of them do their own national activities. And then on the other hand, there's the other group of actors in the Brazilian Amazon region, all related to the what they call extractivism. So DJ at least knows CNS, the rubber tappers. And then, well, there's like an alliance of forest peoples in the Amazon region. One is Koya, which is the indigenous people's kind of umbrella organization. Then there's the CNS, the rubber tappers. And then there's GTA, which is like a group of other forestry related actors in the Brazilian Amazon region. So it's kind of a scattered program. We will have to look at the focus in the near future.
Maybe I can continue with the Mekong region. The team there, in our cooperation, there is energy, which is not a team yet in Siemenpuu's information work or advocacy work. Energy has not been defined as a separate team, but it relates to the, of course, local communities and water issues, displacement issues, and so on. There is a network. Our partner organization in Mekong region is MENET, so we have Mekong Energy and Ecology Network, and it's the only partner in the region, but it has a so-called coordinated team through our support goes to the coordinating team, but the work of MENET involves about 30 different organizations in 6 Mekong countries, from Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, Myanmar, Vietnam, and the Yunnan province of China. And the aim is to influence the decision making in the energy sector, like the governments or energy ministries planning, energy sector planning and electricity planning on the upstream, because earlier the campaigns NGO campaigns and local people's campaigns have been targeting separate dam or coal power plant projects and so on, but then now China, Thailand and Vietnam have externalized the energy production to the poorer countries of Laos, Cambodia and Myanmar. So there's lots of investments going from the more affluent Mekong region countries to the poorer countries and for damming the Mekong River or building power plants in the neighboring countries. So that's why it's important to try to influence the energy consumption and energy planning in countries like Thailand. So that's their work basically, and advocacy work, but as well information work and trying to network the NGOs in the region to work together. And the Mekong program was assessed, evaluated earlier this year, and now in 1 month's time there will be 3 persons from Finland coming to here and discuss, and we will organize a seminar on Myanmar issues and so on. We will negotiate the terms of the future cooperation for the next phase.
With Myanmar team,
But
with Myanmar or entire Mekong region.
there is the people who are coming here is Vitun from Finland's director from Thailand, and then one Burmese person and one Chinese person. So we use the insights, for example, of the Chinese investment in Myanmar. It's one country. Maybe then to the Tamil Nadu program, which it's on my desk as well. In Tamil Nadu is one of the...
Just on Mekong, can I ask?
Yeah, please.
Is Myanmar within Mekong watershed?
Yes, actually it is, since Mekong River runs on the border between Myanmar and Laos. So it's considered as a, of course it's geographically it's only a very small part of the Myanmar is in the Mekong River basin, but it's on the political issues, for example in the Asian Development Bank policies, it's Myanmar is part of the greater Mekong